In this video we will practice listening and reading in English, as well as learning about the differences between American English and British English. Remembering that you can change the speed and activate the subtitles in Brazilian Portuguese if you prefer. At the end of this video we will have a challenge for you. In order not to miss the next videos, leave your like on this video and subscribe to the channel. English is a global language spoken all over the world with a fascinating history that dates back many centuries. British English and American English are two different variations of the English language that arose from the political separation between England and the United States in the late 18th century. Although they share many similarities, there are significant differences between the two forms of English that can affect understanding and communication among speakers. One of the most obvious differences between American and British English is pronunciation. The British accent is generally considered more formal and cultured, with a more emphatic and distinctive pronunciation. American English, on the other hand, is often described as more casual and relaxed, with a more laid-back and less distinctive pronunciation. These pronunciation differences extend to many words, with some being pronounced completely differently in each variety of English. Another significant difference is vocabulary. While most words are the same in both languages, there are many words that are different, with slightly different meanings. For example, football is football in British English but soccer in American English. The same applies to words like lift, elevator in American English, and toilet, bathroom in American English. These vocabulary differences can lead to misunderstandings and confusion, especially for non-native speakers. Grammatical differences are also important. For example, the use of the present perfect, a verb tense that indicates an action that started in the past and is still ongoing, is much more common in British English than in American English. Additionally, American English tends to use the simple past where British English would use the present perfect. For example, in American English, we would say I just ate breakfast, while in British English, it would be more common to say I've just had breakfast. Another significant difference is the use of punctuation. American English tends to use fewer commas than British English and also uses a more straightforward style of punctuation. For example, in American English, it is common to use the semicolon to separate related clauses, while in British English, the comma is usually used for this purpose. Finally, there are differences in spelling. While most words are spelled the same in both languages, there are some notable differences. For example, color is color in British English, center is center, analyze is analyze, and so on. Some of these spelling differences are very subtle. Contractions. American English tends to use contractions more frequently than British English. For example, Americans might say I'm gonna instead of I am going to, while the British might say I'll instead of I will. Slang. Both American and British English have their own unique slang words and expressions that are not always easily understood by speakers of the other variety. For example, Americans might use the word guy to refer to a man, while the British might use the word bloke. Pronouns. There are some differences in the use of pronouns between American and British English. For example, Americans tend to use the word gotten as the past participle of get, while the British would use got. Additionally, Americans might use the pronoun you guys to refer to a group of people, while the British might use you lot. Prepositions. There are some differences in the use of prepositions between American and British English. For example, Americans might say on the weekend, while the British would say at the weekend. Similarly, Americans might say I'm in line, while the British would say I'm in a queue. Overall, While the differences between American and British English might seem small, they can add up and lead to confusion or misunderstanding, especially for non-native speakers. It's important to be aware of these differences and adjust your language accordingly depending on your audience. Did you like this video? Now we have a challenge for you. But first, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. Let's go to the challenge. Describe below in English in your opinion what is the main difference between American English and British English.